Hi guys. So this video is walking you guys through your second essay assignment. And this one is taking us through the war years. So we're looking at life during World War I and World War II. So we've looked at kind of these modernist texts that are unique to different movements and different marginalized voices. So you guys are going to choose two works that you read in this unit from two different authors. You're going to compare and contrast those in terms of literary analysis. So in making your choices, you could choose works that seem to kind of naturally fit together, or you could look at works from unexpected pairings. So you are going to show how they're similar and different in terms of literary style or elements primarily. And secondarily, like in your first essay, you can look at the historical context or the biographical context. The key here, of course, is that you keep the focus on the text, keep the focus on analyzing the literature as literature. Don't let this become a biography. Don't let this become a history essay. But you can bring in those biographical or historical elements to kind of add context to your analysis. So you can use the graphic organizer that you created to help you kind of get your thoughts in order about how you want to compare these different texts. You do need to have two sources to support your claim. One of them does need to be a scholarly source from the TCC database. So your essay is going to be due on Sunday, April 12th at midnight. 3 to 4 pages in length. That means to the bottom of the third page at minimum. And standard MLA, of course, is required. Everything checked through SafeAssign. And you guys have a number of choices. You have Frost, Fitzgerald, Eliot, McKay, Hemingway, and Hughes in this selection. Now, if you choose a poem, say from Hughes, I would suggest keeping it just to one poem per author. So one poem versus one text, or one poem versus another poem. That's fine. But I wouldn't try to do more than one from one author, because you want to keep your argument and your analysis kind of narrow and focused. So again, the choice of topic and the work is yours, so choose carefully. You're going to look at how the texts compare across thematic concepts. So you don't want to have a paragraph for one author, say you did Frost and Eliot. You don't want to have a paragraph for Frost and a paragraph for Eliot and a paragraph for Frost, paragraph for Eliot. You want to compare them thematically across different concepts. So you could do, say, the concept of whatever it might be, in socialization in two of their poems. Or you could, the theme, let's say, or you could look at symbolism and the use of symbolism across two of their poems. But you want to connect them thematically so that within each paragraph you're discussing both Frost and Eliot. So, for example, say you were going to do Hemingway and Fitzgerald. In one paragraph, you might discuss, say, Hemingway and Fitzgerald's use of dialogue and why that's, how that portrays certain meaning in both texts. And the next paragraph, you might say both Hemingway and Fitzgerald, use distinct symbolism in their texts for a specific purpose, to discuss the isolation of post-war Americans. And then you would pull in, specific pieces of evidence from both Hemingway and Fitzgerald that show that. You can do the same thing with the differences. You can talk about how Fitzgerald and Hemingway, say, have different uses of the dramatic structure in their works. Then you pull in, again, pieces of evidence from both Fitzgerald and Hemingway to show how they're different and why they're different. So that's a very basic kind of example, but it does give you an idea of how to structure this. So you're going to need to pull in concrete evidence, like I kind of just said. Pull in concrete evidence as quotes from the texts to support your analysis, and then same thing, quotes from your sources to kind of back up your own analysis. So some things you can think about: how do the works connect, whether that's similarities or differences, in terms of theme or other major literary elements? How are the structures similar or different? So if you're doing a poem, say from McKay, and then you're doing Hemingway, how is the structure of prose versus poetry different? Why does that matter? How does it impact meaning? And then what, secondarily, are the historical or biographical elements that are important in order to contextualize both these works. So if I'm talking about Hemingway, I want to talk about the fact that he was a post-war American living abroad. He was an expat abroad, and he kind of had disillusionment with, American ideals at that point. If I was going to do someone like Langston Hughes, I would talk about secondarily his background as a Harlem Renaissance writer, and kind of his understanding of the social changes that were happening in Harlem at this time. So how are those different or the same between the authors, and how does that impact the social, political, or economic sort of issues surrounding the work? So you guys are going to be, again, this is all very much in line with kind of use the examples of the lectures that I give you, to kind of see how you can incorporate this secondarily the biographical historical context into the literary analysis. So how do the works connect? I'm sorry, I already said this. You guys are going to be assessed on making sure you have a fully developed argumentative thesis statement. So you should say something like, Langston Hughes and Ernest Hemingway both discuss the isolation of Americans in a post-war society. However, they differ in their understanding of whatever it might be. You do need to have close analysis around the works, again, like I said, and the major concepts, so making sure this is not a biography essay or a history essay. Make sure this is a literary analysis essay. Pull in good evidence to support your claims from both the primary and the secondary sources. Make sure you have two secondary sources, one of which is a scholarly article. Proper page length MLA, proper use a number of outside sources and citations, in text and on the bib. Fully developed essay structure with a good intro, clear main ideas and a conclusion, and careful, clear organization of all your ideas across these thematic concepts rather than having a paragraph for each author. So let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, again, choose two works that are of interest to you, that you'll have enough to say in 3 pages. MLA, everything's double-spaced. Everything shouldn't be too long of a paper. But do let me know if you have any questions as you work.